is Andy.
And this is FDS NFL.
Ray, you survived your trip to Buffalo.
I did. The listeners don't even know that there was a potential trip to Buffalo.
Sure they did. We talked about it.
No, this came together in the very last few minute details, did they? When did we record last week?
Yeah, we recorded on Wednesday or Thursday, but I can promise you we talked in detail about it, about the plan on the show. And prior to us recording, you were on the phone for like 45 minutes with multiple family members, alerting them of the fact that you would be going home to Fort Erie. Okay. So, yeah.
All I can tell you, I'm exhausted, Andy.
Yeah.
I'm exhausted. It was last minute. I picked the boys up around 6:30. We hit the road. I drove for 10 hours. Nick drove for 5 hours in between there. Chris slept in the back seat.
Yeah.
And on the way home...
Same thing?
No, just reverse. Chris was in the back seat. Nick drove probably 12 hours on the way home, and I finished it off.
There you go.
We came through Canada on the way home.
Right.
So we clear sailing all the way to Edmundston. We hit Edmundston, and from Edmundston to Moncton, pouring rain, Andy. It took much longer than it normally does. But, yeah, I'm still trying to catch up on some Z's.
Still in recovery.
Well,
this episode is brought to you by Moose Light. If you need a beer, get yourself a Moose Light. Why, Ray?
Because this stuff is scary good.
Scary good. And if you need a jersey or a bunch of jerseys for a team that you manage or whatnot, talk to our buddies, the Doyles at Doyle Corporate Image, because...
The Doyles rule.
The Doyles rule. All right. Well, you were at the Bills game, so let's start with that one.
All right. Let's talk about it. It was, it was a fun day. The weather was great. I think it was 8 degrees at kickoff. Buffalo, the fans showed up. I saw a few Lamar Jackson jerseys out there, but nowhere near as many as I saw Tom Brady jerseys when I was at the game earlier this year.
Okay.
But that being said, as I mentioned to you going into this game was huge for Buffalo, and the fact that the division title was within reach if they won this game. They needed this game. Not only that, but this team is probably one of the most exciting, if not the most exciting football team in the NFL right now. It's the one that gets all the big hype from the talking heads, as you call them.
Yep.
And so it was a game I really wanted to see Buffalo come out and compete in. There was some really neat things to start off this game. Doug Flutie came out prior to the game. It was Doug Flutie game. It was the first time I ever did a 2-jersey day to a game. Right. I tailgated in my Flutie jersey, and when it was time to go into the game, I put on my Allen jersey.
Got it.
And
it's a good move.
My Allen jersey is now 0-2 at the Bills games.
Oh, wow.
But let me just read some stats off for you, okay?
Yeah.
Bills lose this game by a touchdown in a game that Baltimore pretty well allowed Buffalo to march downfield in their final drive to actually tie this game up, okay? And Josh made a great pass, just Brown didn't make the catch.
Yep.
Brown didn't make the catch. That's what it comes down to. But let me just read some stats for you, because I'm seeing this all over social media. Okay, the Browns hung with the Bills hung with the Ravens.
Yeah.
The Bills hung with the Ravens.
Sure.
Let me tell you this: against the Bills, the Ravens scored 24 points. Their average for the season's 33 points. They had 257 yards against the Bills. Their average against the league is 420. 118 yards against, or 118 rushing yards against the Bills, 207 against the rest of the NFL, 3.6 yards per carry against the Bills, 5.6 against the rest of the NFL. Baltimore punted the ball 7 times against the Bills. Their previous high this season was 3.
Okay.
In saying all those stats, do you know what that adds up to, Andy?
Well, in this case,
it adds up to nothing.
Right.
It adds up to nothing. This was a game that Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills offense had to show up, and they had to play football. Now, they saw a different defense than they've seen all year, kind of similar to the Browns. They ran a cover 0.
Yep.
There was no safeties backed up there. They were all up on the line of scrimmage, and they blitzed 52% of the time. I remember I told you it seemed like a lot. I checked the stats. 52% of the time they ran a blitz. They had Allen uncomfortable. They had him out of the pocket. They had him making plays. And listen, when you're moving up the standings and trying to get the division title, Andy, your offense in the first half can't have 4 in a row of 3 and outs. You can't do it.
No.
In the second half, Josh finally started letting the ball go. He wasn't overthinking. He was just letting the ball go. And we had drops by Foster, Beasley, Brown that cost the Bills points as well as first downs. The other big upset thing I am with this damn Bills team is Frank Gore. Why are we putting Frank Gore in the game? Devin Singletary touches the ball 17 times for 89 yards. Let's start giving the ball to this guy. He's got speed outside on the edge. He's got hands. He can make catches. I'm sorry. Frank Gore has done what he needed to do in his career. He's past Barry Sanders. He's 3rd overall. He's going to the Hall of Fame. But Gore, you're done in Buffalo. Singletary's the guy. Let's stick with Singletary. I'm so pissed off at the damn Bills right now. I told you about Doug Flutie. At halftime, they brought out a group from Canada. They called Strictly Hip.
Okay.
This was a big bar band way back in the day.
Strictly
and they've done tours across Canada, actually. But these guys are a great hip cover band.
I was going to say, it must be a hip cover band.
I was singing with them, and every lyric, I had the crowd going crazy around me, and it was fantastic. I had a lot of fun. Prior, during, and after this game. It was a fun experience. The only thing that killed it for me is Brian Dable and the goddamn Bills offense. And Buffalo Bills wide receivers. I know you're listening to this. You had one-on-one coverage.
Yeah.
They were cover 0. One-on-one coverage. You got to beat a defensive back. Cole Beasley and John Brown, I've already said it this year.
Yeah.
They're not a number 1 receiver. We need a number 1 receiver that can beat a guy one-on-one to make a point, to score points and get a first down. And for whatever reason, against the Ravens, these 2 guys couldn't get that done, and that's what they were brought to Buffalo for. There's my... Oh, one last thing. I'm just going to tell you this.
Sure.
During the game, there was... I don't know if this was picked up on TV. During the game, a newspaper was flying across the football field.
It wasn't a newspaper. It was a play sheet.
Well, whatever it was.
Yeah.
It went flying across the field, and Tre'Davious White, cornerback for the Bills, picked it up and was reading it, like pretending he was reading it on the field.
Wasn't pretending he was reading it.
Well,
he was reading it.
But
yes, of course it was picked up. It was all over the highlight reel.
It looked like a newspaper. I haven't seen that.
It was
yet.
a play sheet.
There you go. There's my Bills.
Well, I've got nothing to add other than, I mean, it was there for the taking. If the offense could just make a few plays, the defense played very well against the Ravens, and it just didn't happen for them. Thankfully, somebody else lost, so the division is kind of still within reach, though you really needed this one, you're right, because this was a week where there was a potential loss in that other place, and you wanted to get the win for the remainder. It's tough, but listen, you're going to the playoffs. Everything will be all right.
Not yet.
Well,
we'll talk about playoffs later on in the podcast.
The Bills played the Bengals in Cleveland. Another weird called offensive game by Freddie Kitchens. Baker Mayfield was throwing the ball like crazy in the first half for whatever reason. The stats look bad, but he actually played much better than the stats look. It shows he had 2 interceptions. I talked to you about this over lunch the other day. Sure, we'll credit him with 2, but one of them was definitely not an interception. It was one of the weirdest plays and challenges I've ever seen. Njoku goes up, catches the ball, comes down, lands on his back, has control of the ball with a defender on top of him, and they don't blow the whistle. Defender rips the ball out and runs, and they rule it a fumble on the fumble recovery on the field. The challenge was so long, I think we went to commercial twice. They come back, say ruling on the field stands, and then after half, The announcers say that they heard from New York or whatever, and it's being changed to an interception. At the halftime, Nick Chubb, the league leading rusher, has more yards than anybody in the league. I think he had 3 carries for like 7 yards or something crazy. So somebody must have went in and said to Freddie Kitchens, hey, you've got the league's leading rusher, and this is one of the league's worst run defenses, and you've run the ball like between your 2 star running backs like 6 times. Get it together. Well, in the second half, they ran the ball. And
Game was over.
Yeah, it's cruised into victory. Unlike a lot of Browns fans, I have a lot of respect for Andy Dalton, especially if you give Andy Dalton time. And listen, the Myles Garrett suspension, as well as the injuries, but mainly the Myles Garrett suspension is really showing itself because the last few weeks, and especially in this Bengals game, the Browns are getting 0 pressure. They got 0 pressure on Duck when they played the Steelers, and they got 0 pressure on Andy Dalton, and Andy Dalton had a real shot to pick them apart. They were giving him so much time, so it is what it is. The Browns now this is one of the first time, I don't know when it happened last, but this is a big year in the division, at least for the Browns. This is the first time in a long time since before the return that the Browns beat all their division foes in a season.
Yeah. I was surprised Mixon put up 146 yards in this game.
Gashing them. He was gashing the rushing defense. The problem
he's
is
a good back, but
yeah,
you guys haven't had...
Our defensive line was trying desperately to get to Andy Dalton and couldn't, and the lanes were wide open, and he was just gashing us. So that's the Browns game. The Browns are 6-7 now. They're still mathematically in the playoffs with some miracle. So football gods, whatever. Let's see what happens.
See what happens.
All right, you want to move on to what the? All right.
Sorry.
So I'll get it out of the way because I know you're itching to talk about this. So the New England Patriots, Spygate 2 is upon us apparently. So since we were just talking Bills and Browns game, this happened at the Bills and Browns game. So the New England Patriots,
Browns and Bengals game.
Browns and Bengals game. Yes, the New England Patriots on their website have this silly show that they've been running all year. It's an episodic thing. It's called Do Your Job. So stupid. Anyways, and so basically what they're doing is they're highlighting various like non-famous people within the organization, showing them do their job. And they decided this week that they were going to highlight the advanced scout that they send out to games where he scouts their next opponent. And they sent a camera crew with them, and apparently it was a third-party camera crew or something. And these guys were dressed up in Boston Bruins jerseys. One guy had a Cam Neely jersey or something on. Anyways, so they contact the Browns because it's the Browns press box. And by the way, all my Browns, like local guys, like on their radio shows and podcasts and stuff today, they were all there in the press box. So they saw all this happening. They had some conversation. Anyways, so so they contact the Browns and say, can we get press box credentials and passes for these camera guys because they're going to be filming our advanced scout or whatever. Sure. Whatever. So these guys come in and they're filming this guy as he's scouting, which I'm sure is riveting television. And then at some point, people noticed that the cameras were just facing the field and there was nothing else in frame. There was nothing else in view. The camera was just facing the field. So they were like, hey, what are you guys doing?
What are you doing?
What exactly are you doing?
There was a female journalist that caught him or pointed out.
But all the Browns people in the press box, like a lot of people were saying, what are these guys doing? Because there were times where they were filming him face on while he was looking out the window, which means the camera crew got in front of the press guys who trying to watch the game. So everybody was like, what is going on with these clowns? So anyways, when they finally noticed and they saw that the camera was facing the field or whatnot, they immediately said, we need your camera gear right away because it is against NFL rules to film an NFL sideline in any way, even by mistake. So they handed over the tape and it was given to Cincinnati and apparently the tape was reviewed. And now we find out that in that tape, because it's been given to the NFL as well, we find out that there's not 30 seconds. They were trying to capture B-roll, which is basically just some other shots while somebody's talking on camera to break away from what's going on.
Right.
Well, apparently they captured 8 straight uninterrupted minutes of B-roll facing the Bengals bench, not the Browns bench, the Bengals bench, because
it's advanced scouting.
Right, and that happens to be their next opponent. Wow, and now things have just taken off. And a lot of Patriots fans are being so ridiculous, and they're like, oh my gosh, this is only a thing because it's the Patriots. Yeah, it is only a thing because it's the Patriots, because the Patriots are proven cheaters doing this exact thing that they're being accused of right now. And in this world, if you're the New England Patriots and there's anything even remotely questionable, you guys potentially breaking rules, unlike the rest of the teams, you are guilty until proven innocent.
Right.
What do you think, Ray?
Well, and again, this isn't the very first time it was proven that Belichick had told the guys, go do this.
Right.
Now Belichick's saying, I was not aware. Like, hold on here, Belichick. Hold on. You're not just the head coach of the New England Patriots. You are the front office of the New England Patriots.
No.
Now, every team, the Buffalo Bills have what's called embedded. Every team for their social media platform has these crews that are working on whatever they're
Working on something.
I
don't know that any except for the Patriots are highlighting an advanced scout.
Right.
But yeah.
But I'm sure that Brandon Beane, the GM of the Buffalo Bills, knows what's going on with his social media crew or whatever. They're part of team meetings. So the fact that you got these guys out there, and you said the key words, Andy, 8 minutes.
Yeah.
That's over half of a quarter of direct footage on the sideline.
That's enough B-roll for a 2-hour video.
Yeah. What you do is you take 2 minutes and you just keep rolling it. You know what I mean? Like you just keep rolling it in the background.
Well, what you do is you don't take any minutes if it's the sideline because that's against the rules.
It's against the rules.
The most tightly run organization in the league, New England Patriots. It's very hard to believe that they wouldn't let this film crew that they hired let them know ahead of time. Hey, here's some rules and regulations you guys need to think about, especially since we've been nailed for this before. But don't point the camera at the sideline. It's pretty. Listen, Ray, I've heard what Bill Belichick had to say about it. And I'm going to throw all biases aside, and I'm just going to say this. Maybe it was a mistake. But you know what? Whether it was a mistake or not, it is against NFL rules to record a sideline.
And this is your second offense.
Yeah, and it's 8 whole minutes of it. So even if this is a mistake, the league absolutely cannot overlook this.
And not only should they not overlook it, but they need to come to a decision quick.
Oh, yeah.
They can't let this linger.
Right.
They need to come to a decision quick. Now, there's a couple punishments I have in mind. Let's just talk punishment for a second.
Oh, I can't wait to hear what you have in mind.
There's a local football team, the Tantramar Titans here in Atlantic, Canada.
Okay, yeah.
Some
high school football.
High school football coaches may say they're the New England Patriots of New Brunswick.
I've heard that before.
Okay. This year they had an incident with an ineligible player on their team.
Yeah.
And the NBIA, which is the NFL for local football here, they reversed 3 of their victories.
Right.
I think this is a golden standard. I would love to see the Patriots have 3 games reversed. Put the Bills as division leaders. I mean, that would work out great for me.
That would be great. If I could poke a hole in that one real quick, the basis for reversing those particular games was this was an ineligible player incident where those games had that ineligible player
I get
in
it.
So unless we can go back and prove that the sidelines were filmed for a bunch of other games this season, I think this one's a little off base, but what's your next one, Ray?
Listen. Belichick being suspended for the rest of the season, that would be great.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that'd be
great.
wonderful, huh?
Right? No, but seriously, it's going to come down to money, and it's going to come down to draft picks.
Money's no object to them. I mean, Belichick was fined $500,000 for the original one,
half a million.
But Robert Kraft paid that, so
he did.
Yeah,
and the team was fined $2.5 million.
Was it? I thought it was $250,000.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay, it was something up there.
Yeah.
But they lost a first round draft pick.
Right.
Which how did that impact the Patriots?
Listen, everybody says the Patriots are geniuses and they find those magical players in the late rounds. Well, I say we fix this. We don't just get rid of a first round draft pick. They forfeit their draft.
Ooh.
The whole thing, Ray. The whole draft. Wouldn't you love that as a Bills fan?
I'm on board.
Yep.
I'm on board. And all those picks go to the next team in the standings in the Patriots division.
Yeah.
I think that works out.
Just in the Patriots division.
Just in the Patriots division.
Yeah, this is
I like
great.
it. I like it.
Anyways, to wrap this up, I mean, we don't know what's going to happen here, but something has to be done. Something has to be done. That's all there is to it. Even if it was a mistake, it was a violation of rules by a team that has violated these rules before. You cannot, there's no giving them the benefit of the doubt here. So something has to happen.
Yeah, something's got to happen. It's got to be quick. It's got to be hard. And as long as it benefits the Bills, I'm all good.
I'd be happy if it benefited the Browns in some way.
All right.
Just FYI. I'd just like to know.
Listen, if they kick the Patriots out of the playoffs, that opens up another spot because Bills are moving up.
Oh, there you go.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. I got a two.
Yep.
Phillip friggin' Rivers.
Yeah.
You know how I like it. My thoughts on Phillip Rivers.
Yes.
This guy is a non-Hall of Famer.
Okay.
This guy shouldn't even be playing in the league right now. I can't stand Phillip Rivers.
All right.
And the more I hear about this guy, the least I like him. So this week here, he drops back. He gets a pass off to his running back.
Yeah.
Ackler. What was it wasn't Gordon, it was the other kid.
I know who you mean, and I can't think of his name, but he was a fantasy stud this year.
Yeah, fantasy stud.
Yeah.
Anyways, Yannick, I'm never gonna get this one.
Yeah, so don't even worry about it. Someone named Yannick. All right.
Nekoku, all right?
Yeah.
He's the guy that takes him down to the ground, okay?
Mm-hmm.
After he gets up, he reaches out his hand to get him up, and Rivers pats him on the back just like everything's fine.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, Rivers starts going 90-yard touchdown. I just threw a 90-yard touchdown. And he says this as he's walking up to the ref, and the ref's like, "What are you talking about?" He says, "I just threw a 90-yard touchdown, and this guy picked me up." And the referee told him to get the beep out of here.
Okay.
Which I'd love to see that from the ref, not taking crap from players.
Yeah.
But the thing that really pisses me off about this situation,
right?
The referee heard the taunting to the player. Why wasn't a flag thrown for unsportsmanlike? The touchdown still would have counted.
Yeah.
But you would have applied the 15-yard penalty or 10-yard penalty, whatever.
After the fact.
After the fact.
Yeah.
There should have been a flag for that kind of crap on the football field. You don't need that. I don't care if it's Pee-wee football or NFL football. You know what? Somebody reaches out to pick you up off the ground. You don't trash talk in his face.
Yeah.
That's an idiot move by Phillip Rivers.
Yeah, I saw somebody respond to it on Twitter. I think it was the Honey Badger. By the way, that was Austin Eckler is the name of that guy. Yeah, but I think Tyrann Matthew or somebody like that on Twitter actually just said, Phillip is one of the funniest trash talkers in the entire league, and he never means anything by it. So there were some people that chimed in on it. You're right. He does talk a lot. He's not having a good year. I mean, he is still in the league grade because they went 12-4 last year. So, you got to give a guy a chance.
He's a joke.
Yeah.
All
well, right. I definitely know your thoughts on him, and I can't argue with you on that one.
Okay.
Want to go over some odds and ends?
Odds and ends, yeah. So I got a couple. One just came out today. Antonio Brown is back on social media, Andy, and he's attacking Big Ben and the NFL today.
Oh, wow.
He's claiming the NFL is racist.
Okay. All right. Not the first time that's been happening.
They're holding him out with no charges pending, yet Big Ben got a domestic arrest and still played through that situation.
Is this really what he said?
Yeah.
Because he's not being held out of the league.
I know. He came out today.
Yeah.
And this is what he's claimed.
He's not on commissioner's exempt list. He could be playing right now if a team would call him, but they won't.
Yeah, but that's if the league will let him play.
But I didn't know. Did he get some sort of indefinite suspension from the league? I don't believe so. The Patriots just released him. He was never put on the exempt. This guy's nuts.
He's claiming the NFL is racist.
Well, that's fine. A lot of people claim that, and he's probably right in a sense. But in his case, that's not what's going on.
He's just a meathead.
He's dumb. Yeah.
All right, here's another interesting one, and I heard about this, and I heard. I got to watch, by the time we got back to Fort Erie after the Bills game, I heard something about the Chiefs had almost had to forfeit the game.
It was a funny story.
What are you talking about, forfeit the game?
Yeah.
So I wanted to do a little research on this, which I did just before the podcast because I've been busy at work and I'm tired as heck, Andy.
Yeah.
The Chief equipment goes missing. Okay.
Right.
Here's the story. It never got unloaded from the team plane.
Right.
Because there was a high school game going on at Gillette.
Yeah.
The night that the Chiefs flew in.
Right.
So there was nowhere to store the NFL team equipment.
Yeah. So Gillette must not have a bit of a shortage on closets or something.
I guess.
Pretty big building.
I don't know.
Anyway, yeah. All right.
Maybe it's because Tom Brady's in the closet. I don't know what's going on.
Or so much space is being used up for Tom Brady's personal trainer business that's being run out of there. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
TB12.
Yep.
So, anyways, by the time they realized they didn't have their equipment, the plane had left Boston and it was 225 miles away, sitting on a New Jersey tarmac.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So now the Chiefs had to start making some plans on what they were going to do.
Yes.
There was a high school team there, and I didn't get the name of the high school team. It's a long name.
Yeah. But they wear red.
They wear red, and they have a logo similar to the Chiefs.
Yep.
So they were going to borrow this high school's team's shoulder pads and helmets to play this football game, not even knowing if it would fit, right?
Yeah. So they wouldn't have to forfeit.
Right. This plane gets turned around, and literally 1 hour before kickoff, the Chiefs equipment shows up at Gillette Stadium by a police escort to get the equipment there on time. That is a crazy... Talk about a distraction before a football game.
The only thing I wish would have gone differently is if they had played in those high school helmets, because that would have been a much better story. Just to see
it would have been.
Yeah.
But they avoided the forfeit, and they beat the Patriots on Sunday night.
Yeah. All's
good in the world of football.
All's well that ends well, right?
There you go.
Yeah. Got anything else, or we're on to overreaction?
That's it. Over to overreaction. And guess what for overreaction this week, folks? I'm going to turn it over to Andy because at this point, I don't have any overreaction.
I got one for you. You tell me if this is an overreaction. Eli Manning starting a bunch of games now. Started the last game, going to be starting another game because Daniel Jones is injured. Before this last start, in which they lost, Eli Manning on his career had a 500 record. He was right there at the line. He's now lost this game, which has moved him under 500, and he'll play a few more games probably, and there's a good chance he loses those and gets even further under 500. What I'm hearing like crazy is that, actually, I'm hearing a lot of people, and I don't understand this argument, that Eli Manning is not a sure bet Hall of Famer to begin with, and now that his career record is going to dip below 500, this severely hurts his chances to get into the Hall of Fame. Is that an overreaction?
I think it's a joke. I think it's an absolute joke. This guy is a two-time Super Bowl champion.
Yeah.
And not just any Super Bowl champion, a Tom Brady beating Super Bowl champion.
Well, and he was the MVP in both of those games,
Both those games.
Yep.
Tom Brady and the New England Patriots go 17-0 in their Spygate season.
Yeah.
Get to the Super Bowl.
Yep.
And Eli Manning
Ruins
takes the monster down.
Yep.
There is no question, no shadow of a doubt. Eli Manning is a Hall of Famer. I could care less what happens in these next couple games.
Yeah. Well, I agree with you. I'll take the Patriots out of it altogether. I don't care who they beat in their Super Bowls. If you are a quarterback and you are a two-time Super Bowl winner and you are a two-time Super Bowl MVP in those games, you're just in. That's it.
You're in.
That's all. The only way that you wouldn't be is if you literally only played 2 years in your entire career and that's what you did. They might argue with you at that point that you didn't have a long enough career. But still, if you did that in only a 2-year career, I think you still have an argument.
How many Super Bowls does Phillip Rivers have?
Well, 0.
How many Super Bowls has Phillip Rivers been to?
0. Why are we talking about Phillip Rivers?
I'm just want to...
Okay.
How many AFC championships has Phillip Rivers won?
I don't know that he's won any, but he's
obviously he would have gone to the Super Bowl.
But he's been to one, I think.
Right?
Yeah.
Anyways, what I'm trying to say, it's just my proof in the pudding. Phillip Rivers is not a Super Bowl or is not a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Right.
And Eli Manning is. He's got 2 Super Bowls, 2 MVPs in those Super Bowls, and they were both against the big, bad Patriots. He's in.
All right. I would have went in another direction, but fair enough. I mean, if Joe Namath is a Hall of Fame quarterback, Eli Manning's a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Absolutely.
Namath has like 1 Super Bowl, has had a few good, come on. Anyways, all right. Fantasy. What happened with you in fantasy, Ray?
I got
Playoff time.
2 words for you.
Yeah.
2 words for you.
Okay.
Well, before I get to my 2 words.
Okay.
Biggest bust of the season in fantasy.
Okay.
Biggest bust of the year in fantasy.
Ooh.
I got 2 words for you.
What?
Patrick Mahomes.
Wow.
I got killed taking Patrick Mahomes. I thought I made such a smart pick in the draft.
Oh,
getting
did
him,
you
right?
ever tell
I
us
did.
for 6 weeks
I
straight?
did.
Yeah.
And you know what? It came back to bite me. This guy has turned out to be a fantasy bum. Even though he beat the Patriots, you're a fantasy bum, Patrick Mahomes.
Wow.
You cost me my playoff win. I'm pissed off about my Bills. I'm pissed off about Patrick Mahomes. I can't wait for next week's games.
Wow. All right. Well, in my fantasy league, as I mentioned last week, I somehow managed to make the playoffs in 7 of my 8 leagues. It was crazy. I was all jacked up last week, so happy. I'm like, listen, 7 teams. I got a shot at least one title here, right? I go 1 and done in 6 out of the 7 leagues.
Yeah.
So I'm only alive in 1 league now to hopefully win the championship. And if I had to blame one particular decision and or individual on those losses, it's very simple. I made the decision to start Baker Mayfield against Cincinnati instead of starting Jimmy G against the Saints. And I forget there was only one other league that I lost in that I didn't have Jimmy as the backup. I had somebody else. I still think that a lot of people on that day, without hindsight, would have told me that was the right decision, because I would have expected the 49ers defense to dominate the Saints, for them to maybe get up early and then just run the ball like crazy. I didn't expect it to be a shootout where Jimmy G's going crazy. But yeah, had I started Jimmy G in a bunch of leagues, including the Dynasty League, the Jamie Doucette one, instead of me losing by like 4 points and being knocked out of the playoffs, I would have won by like 15 or something. So Baker, you're killing me, buddy. You know, you're really making life tough in a lot of ways these days. We'll leave it at that. I still love you. You're still my guy.
Oh yeah, because we didn't even talk about the OBJ news.
Well, we can talk about that if you want, real quick. OBJ apparently wants out of Cleveland, and apparently has been telling people on this like handshakes and so on like that, get me out of here.
Well, and Baker dropped the line about the Browns
training staff.
Training staff. I mean, listen, all I got to tell you is this. Whether Cleveland makes the playoffs or they don't make the playoffs.
Right, they will not.
They've got some cleaning up. They got some house cleaning to do in this offseason.
So, like, OBJ's been honestly, compared to what I was expecting, an absolute saint. I mean, now there's a little bit of drama bubbling up near the end of the season, but, you know, nowhere near what I was expecting to possibly have to tolerate with him. But the production isn't there either. And I've now learned, without a shadow of a doubt, that you can have too many star weapons on your team. And what's happening is the Browns' offense is designed to make the weapons happy. It's not designed to win at all costs. So if Odell Beckham Jr. is miserable right now in this Browns offense because he's not getting the ball enough, if this Browns offense was designed for them to maximize their strengths, like Bill Belichick says, and win at all costs, he'd be way more miserable because our league-leading rusher should be leading the league in rushing by way more than he actually is. And we'll just leave it at that. So, All right. Picks? You want to talk picks?
Let's talk picks.
All right. You had a rough week in picks last week, but unfortunately I didn't capitalize on it by doing a lot better. You went 2-3 in your picks last week.
I went a little wild last week.
Our buddy Cameron also went 2-3. He had the Bills to upset he had the Bills to upset the Ravens as his upset. You just had the Bills beating the Ravens as one of your normal games. So that was and you actually had the Bengals beating the Browns as your upset. That didn't work out for you. So I gained a game because I didn't get my upset of the Cardinals beating the Steelers, unfortunately. But I went 3-2. So I'm at 46-24. You were at 47-23. I'd like to pick up another game this week. Here, I'll do my picks first. Okay. All right. And while I'm doing them, why don't you start your thought process?
I will.
I'm going to take the Ravens over the Jets. There's no way you can't take the Ravens over the Jets this week. And now I got 4 more games that I got to decide again. I'm taking the Patriots over the Bengals for sure. I mean, they got 8 minutes of footage. They know exactly what they're going to do. The Patriots are probably going to beat them 42-0 at this point. Ray, this is a sentimental pick. I'm going to take the Raiders beating the Jags. This is the final home game that will ever be played.
Oh, yes. That's
by
right.
the Raiders in that stadium.
Yeah.
I think this could go either one of two ways. It could be a total flop and they disappoint the fans, or they come out ready to go. I assume they're going to be ready to
you're
go.
right.
I am going to take the 49ers over the Falcons. I also had the Vikings over the Chargers here, but I'm going to leave that one out. And my upset is going to be the Bills beating the Steelers, because for some chaotic reason, they actually have the Steelers favored over the Bills.
Yeah.
I'm going to capitalize on that because I think I think if it's a battle of defenses and your offense really doesn't have to come up that big, I think this is the Bills' game.
Well, I will tell you where I'm going first. I'm taking Ravens over the Jets. I'm taking the Eagles over the Redskins, which who knows who's going to
who knows what's going to happen.
now.
The Eagles barely escaped.
I'm taking the Chiefs over the Broncos.
Okay.
Pats over the Bengals. And in my upset, it's a really tough one here.
Okay.
Andy.
Yep.
The Buffalo Bills have not won a regular season game in Pittsburgh since 1975.
Time to fix that.
They haven't won a playoff game there since 1993.
Well, this isn't playoffs, so let's not worry about that. But yeah,
But if the Buffalo Bills beat Pittsburgh
yes.
this weekend,
Mm-hmm.
they clinch the 5th playoff spot.
Right.
They're in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, I'm taking my Buffalo Bills to win in Pittsburgh and make up for the disaster that they had against the Baltimore Ravens.
Good.
And you know what? Here's another thing about the Bills this year, Andy. All the games they've lost, other than Cleveland, are at home.
Right.
They're a good road team.
Yep.
So let's turn the road Jets back on. Go win on the road.
Do it. All right. That's the show for this week. Like, comment, subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube. And if you are listening to us in your podcast app, leave us a rating and a review of some sort.
Yeah, that'd be great. We love that stuff.
All right. Have a good one, guys. Enjoy the game. Ray, you need to get some sleep.
I do. I'm going to bed right after we're done here.
Later.
Later, boys.